Hello? There we go. Oh, how about this? There we go. Sorry about that. Some technical difficulties. OBS decided to change my mic settings on me. How's everyone doing? Hello there. Glad to hear you're doing well. Glad to hear several people are doing well. Today, we shall be going through not the previous map that I did the last two streams, but to one of the other ones. We're going to be moving some of the changes I made into another of those same maps. Previously, it was the residential block pre-war map, and now we're going into the Combine occupation. So we'll be moving some of the stuff, some of the changes, such as the AI nodes, into the occupation map. Make everything feel slightly consistent and also help everything feel, well, to use the work that I've already done. Let us get into that now. So, this is residential block occupation. Um, in between streams, I did remove the AI nodes as I want to bring in the ones from the pre-war, as it's mostly the same space, and I did a lot of tweaking on that as well off stream. But I also want to bring in some of the new objects that I put in and some of the new optimization I brought in to help this map also run well. Yes, Aculite? Aculti? I'm sorry I mispronounced that. But yes, these are for gmod. Um, just fixing them up, as there was a request to fix some issues on these, and that's what I want to do. Uh, in Retos 071, I have done experiments in the past involving some of the later Uprising maps. Um, I can't make any guarantees for the next one. As the next one will be something someone else requested. One of the advisors requested a Day of Defeat themed map. So that will be the next after I'm done these reworks. Okay, let us first grab all the new structural stuff, or the new objects. Which one? Yeah, here we go. There we go. And yeah, we're just aligning some of these props here. These props essentially replace a lot of the costlier little things like door frames that eat up into the brush budget. And they could instead eat into the prop budget. Perfect. And then what we'll do is we're going to assign this to a viz group just to make it easier to organize everything. Have it hidden for a moment, but we're going to work our way methodically to make sure that everything is replaced. Hello, Bogey. Bogey? Boji? Apologize if that's wrong. Still, Akilt. I do want to try and get everyone's intended username correct, as best as I can. Okay. So. Actually, might need to adjust this slightly. Yeah. What I'm currently doing now, if you can't see it, is I'm doing in Hammer. If you want to do micro adjustments to objects, you can press Alt or left Alt and drag and move things, and it will move objects off grid. So it's really good for super micro adjustments. If something for some reason has gone off grid by like little tiny bits. Okay, anyways, back to over here. So we'll hide that. This and the. Oh, let's do that. These can all go into this viz group to represent these new objects. Perfect. Uh, Peter, are you referencing when I copy and pasted all the objects into the map? As yeah, sometimes my computer stutters and it takes a moment to register, even though I now have a slightly beefier PC than when I even made these maps 2 years ago. Move it to the old stuff. This is also the a lot of the the smaller little detailing work needed to do a lot of these maps. Just little things like door frames and lights. But all the little details do add up in big ways. As they say, the devil is in the details. Good. Then we can do these ones here. We'll return to that part of the building with the elevator in a moment. Let's finish up with the door frames on this side here. Get this whole wing of the map done. These ones here too. Old stuff. New stuff. Perfect. This side too. Okay. So I'll hide that. Throw this into the old stuff is group. I'm putting the old stuff, putting together a Viz group called Old Stuff to basically just keep track of all the old stuff that was on the map, just to have like a history of the map. Um, what I previously did a lot of version numbers for maps, but I realized that that wasn't efficient. Hello, Fantastic Boom. As you can see, I am, and to those just joining, I am working on a edit of the several maps from about 2024 that I did surrounding some of the Uprising chapters. Right now, I have moved some of the work that you will have seen from previous streams over to the next map, which is during the Combine occupation. Um, Moving some of this stuff over will allow some optimization, as I had placed down a lot more props and entities, while previously a lot of this stuff was brush entities, which did create some problems. But this should hopefully optimize it a lot better. So this is the occupations of the Combine occupation version of this region of City 17. We have to dismantle this elevator as I put down a prop for this bottom part to surround the actual elevator car. and it was previously one entity. So have to do this. Make sure that these are here. Gotta lift this up. Move the smaller details into this old stuff category. Section 2. This. We'll have to work on this upper section of the elevator. Perfect. Put it into place there. Ooh, no, it needs to be a little bit higher. There we go. Perfect. We'll have to what we can do is we'll dip this down by 1. It's not the most elegant solution, but it works. All right, more door frames. There we go. Also, off stream, I added a bunch of extra lighting to the pre-war versions of the maps, as I found there were some areas that weren't lit up enough, and so I wanted to adjust that in places. So we can just do all these door frames here. Just do them in one big fell swoop. Same thing with this one. Perfect. So we already have a good chunk of this area now optimized with fewer of these door frame props. It means there'll be, or fewer of the door frame brushes. It means it'll eat less of the brush total. Should hopefully make things a lot more optimized. Gordon Freeman in the flesh, or rather in the hazard suit. And hello there, Jeffinator. And hello there, Combine Collaborator. Good to see everyone again. Hope everyone is having a good week. Currently, we are continuing the rework of the residential block maps. This time I moved on to the Combine Occupation. Currently in the process of helping optimize this map by moving some of the props from the pre-war version that I had put down into this version to hopefully help optimize everything. Door frames being the big one, as that's 3 brushes for 1 object. And that eats into a lot of the budget if you multiply that over the course of a very large map. Combine Collaborator, I know you were the one who suggested all this, and you were talking about some of the issues with the monitors, and I will get to that hopefully in this stream, as I had found a solution for the train station maps that I quite liked. Hopefully, good revelations for your hardware, Jeffinator. I hope. Grab these. This. Just do all these door frames together. It's 24 objects gone with just what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 props. Took away 24 brushes. That's a pretty good trade for me. Apologies for going quiet every once in a while here. On occasion, garbage trucks are going by, and they are quite loud, and I don't want to blast your ears with them. Okay. Good. Ah, yes, these stairs. Oh, these are all brushes. Oh, yeah, this will be very good to clear away. So it'll save a lot of brush space. Um, it certainly at the very least qualifies me to reply to you, Combine Collaborator. Thank you very much for the your spare credits. I appreciate that. I very much appreciate that you felt like giving them to me. I appreciate your continued support. Jeffinator, I'm glad you managed to get the essentially the blueprints to your laptop. Hopefully that did help your hardware issues. Um, I do hope that you're able to fix them and maybe hopefully you can get back into mapping at the very least with I know this is Hammer plus plus, so hopefully um you're at the very least able to get the regular versions of Hammer to work. Hello there, Soda for lunch. Um I think the best are you looking for general sort of level design advice or specifically like hammer advice? Yes. Okay, good. Ah, yes. Have to sort this building out too. This will be an interesting little redevelopment over here. I I do agree with Waffle Time's suggestion. Top Hat Waffles video guides are pretty good. That's part of how I managed to learn. But for advice from me, um, what I would say is generally levels can be done in any style, um, and it's in any sort of optimization level. Um, and I think it's just best to choose a good starting point that you want to do. I know what I'm trying to say is like some people want to start with the gameplay, some people want to start with the visuals. I think either way works. You can start in either direction for any sort of level, for any sort of like narrative or multiplayer, and you can work your way towards one or the other. Um, Valve specifically really likes to do gameplay first and then work towards a visual, though they sometimes have like a basic visual idea to start with as part of their gameplay experiments, but they definitely work on a gameplay first focus. Um, Other developers start with a visual focus first and then work towards the gameplay. I don't really think personally there's anything wrong with either, as long as you're willing to work. Basically, as long as you're willing to, as the phrase says, kill your darlings, which is to not be too beholden to anything specifically. You can work in either direction, and it can work very well. Personally, I am a visuals first kind of person, but I definitely understand the importance of making sure that all the gameplay works and everything works like that. Hey, Dan Mash. If you're working towards trying to get something like D1 Train Station 01, that map took Valve years upon years to work on, and they had a lot of time to polish that. Um, but they also worked through multiple different plans and had to do multiple like several engine changes, like engine upgrades and stuff like that. So, but I think even for regular people, it can be a lot shorter than that. Um, I've done entire maps in a month before. Um, as long as you go at your own pace, I think that's the most important thing because you don't want to burn yourself out, and you also still want to achieve uh, your goals visually or gameplay wise. So that's the big thing: is to go at your own pace and not really worry about how long something takes. But I'm glad to hear that you are starting out on Hammer. Hammer is quite fun. I have always enjoyed working with Hammer. Nice soda for lunch. Yeah. Uh, it's a lot of the pre-war stuff requires a lot of resources from other games too. Just to be aware. For example, the pre-war version of Residential Block here is using the skybox, one of the skyboxes from CSS. But there are ways around it, and obviously, uh, pre-war times can also have cloudy skies. But if you're looking for that sunny look, that's what I used for this map. Other maps, I use the gmod's built-in like painted sky feature, along with other things, uh, other sort of skybox details. Oh, I'm glad to time me working on this map then, Harry Cook. The hammer is very old Dan Mash. It has its origins in Gold Source, which is 1998, and technically even goes back to like Quake 2, which was before that. Um, I quite enjoy Hammer Plus Plus, and would recommend it if you can get the chance if you can get it. Um, it has a lot of little features that are really helpful, especially for Gmod. Nice soda for lunch. Yeah, day 0101 is nice. It can work as long as you have the well, everyone knows what the vibe of not being under the combine is like. I think these stairs are all right for now. Yeah, that looks. Oh no, that needs to be fixed. That's what was a little off. Yeah, there's a couple small things in Hammer Plus Plus that I found is a little different as well. Harry Cook, certain things in the menus being in different positions. That took some getting used to. Some of the general layouts a little different. Okay, this is all done. So let's get to work on this. Um, you guys. So off stream, I managed to add in another little area here to provide more gameplay. So we're gonna work on getting that in here, up and working. I have actually played Entropy Zero 2 at the very least. I need to go back and play 1 and Uprising Combine Collaborator. I quite enjoyed Easy 2, personally. And yes, Fantastic Boom. It does go back, I believe, to Quake 1 since Gold Source. Well, Gold Source was spun off from 2. Obviously, everything that was developed for 2, I believe, was obviously developed in the first game. I'll have to go and double check. My Gold Source knowledge isn't quite as up to par as my Source Engine knowledge. Nice to hear that, Harry Cook. Yeah, the Uprising is a very fun set of chapters and maps. Um, Very interesting urban design for these maps, like in episode 1 as well. Episode 1's got some pretty cool, like, smaller urban design ideas, which I quite like. What's going on here? Why isn't this aligned? I see. Okay. All right, we're gonna carve this. Oops. Get this aligned here. Perfect. Perfect. We can extend this out. Extend this out. Also move this over. Move the radiator over. Extend that there. And we'll have to put this in old stuff. Same thing with this. Actually, same thing with that door there. Perfect. Oh, and this too. Alright, first of this done. What is the ceiling of that? I'll have to take a look here. No, it's its own thing. It's odd why I didn't group it up. But we can fix that together. I'll just copy and paste it. Actually, let's extend this up in this map too. Don't want the little areas here to get VVis'd. Oh yeah. We can do shaded texture polygons. It does, yeah. Shaded texture does give some good perception. The ability to spot the differences in certain brushes, especially when you're dealing with a lot of the same texture. I guess I just leave it on just regular 3D textured because I'm just used to it at this point. Just a little absent brained it on my part. Well, more of just you're so used to it you don't register something being you just don't register it being something to change, as it were. But I do agree it's a good view. I think actually there's there is a version of Hammer that automatically does shaded previews, but I can't remember. Oh, actually, I think it's Gold Source. Gold Source, I think, automatically has the shaded texture, the Worldcraft, not the one for the pre-release version of Half-Life 2. The Worldcraft for like Half-Life 1 is shaded preview on default, which is kind of neat. We'll have to throw this all in old. Yeah, it's fair. That is very fair. Waffle time. Given a lot of the complexities and Unreal, it makes sense to swap. At least to me, it sounds like it makes sense. I've only used Unreal a little bit, And yeah, given how much stuff there is, it makes sense to swap between all the different views. Aw, thank you, Android VO. I appreciate the compliment. Oh, and yes, Harry Cook, that Combine, I believe Combine Collaborator is correct. I can double check that if you would like, though. And nice to hear that, Combine Collaborator. Yeah, I want to go back and finish the other EZ games, especially with the newer ones that they're working on coming out at some point. I want to get the full get the full lore, get the full story, the full game, as it were. And that would be a very interesting. Be a very interesting idea there. Actually, let me reread that. I would like to do at some point a pre-war version of some of the episodes, more for the episodes like episode 1. Um, but we will see about that at some point. Um, I have done like some looking and research to see. I think all of episode 1's City 17 maps can physically fit within the grid region. This is the grid space is the biggest hindrance to having combinations of maps for certain things. Like the reason why I haven't done any like combinations of coast maps beside the two bridge maps, is because they all run into the boundary here, and they will get cut off and break the engine if you try and combine them through the normal hammer means. But I believe most, if all, of the episode 1 maps could fit in the grid for the City 17 portion, not the Citadel portion included. So, could be doable. Let's do this floor first before we go elsewhere. So we can make sure that we go piece by piece and get everything properly. Okay, and then to viz groups, just put it all here. Perfect. Oh, even these are. Gotcha. Sometimes I forget what I do And what is what in different maps? As there's usually a lot of different pieces to a map. Oh, bye, Jeffinator. Glad you managed to catch in. You tune in. Oh wow, I didn't know that they wanted to remaster EZ1 there. Combine Collaborator. It's pretty cool. There's been a lot of updates to the Source 1 engine from the fan side of things. That could be very cool to see in the games. Uh, that's a great point, Soda, for lunch. I I guess you'd have to make up what would be there for that first when you come up out of the tunnels. What would be in that little section there? Perfect, perfect. I'm sorry to hear about the loss of the hard drive, Endrat. Um, oh, and I'm very thankful to hear that I helped inspire you. Uh, I know someone else currently is working on a mod for the alternate paths. I think that's what it's actually. It's Alternus, I think. A whole like set of new alternate routes for Half-Life 2, various different maps. Yes. Even these door frames here. That's way too big compared to the ones I have. That's too wide. This one, though. To the old. And move this. Perfect. Um, okay, these storefronts. Since they're brushes, and I don't intend, given the style that they're supposed to be like papered up, I don't think the storefront brush props are needed, especially because in the end they're not really going to save on brushes. So let's just get rid of these. I believe, if I remember correctly, this map had a significant brush increase in comparison to the pre-war because of some of the rubble and stuff. So yeah, it'd be best to leave some of these storefronts closed. All right, we can do this. Oh, this is closed off. All right, we'll get rid of these for now. might return depending on what the brush count is like later. Like I've said before, uh, hammer editing is very much trial and error. So even if get rid of something now, you can always return to it later. For those tuning in, I am working on an map from 2 years ago called City 17 Residential Block, set during the Combine occupation. This is a series of maps based on some of the Uprising chapters. Just editing things to make them more optimized, to be more consistent with some of my other maps. And yeah, also providing some extra detailing in certain places, like these new poles that I also did off stream. Stairs. Good. Okay. Do this. Episode 1, Citadel 00. Oh, the talking about the map just before, like at the very beginning of the game of episode 1 there, Citadel for Lunch. My opinion, fantastic boom for the Citadel. I actually did a video about breaking down some of the lore that we know about the Citadel, and I believe I came to the conclusion that the Citadel is like 3 kilometers tall, so like it's almost a mile in Imperial, I think. It's like one of the tallest skyscrapers in fiction, even like almost rivaling like Halo's space tethers, which literally go to the lower ends of the atmosphere. It's pretty tall. That's based on the, I believe I took that off of the Skybox model and the hammer units, because there's calculations for how the hammer units translate uh, into both metric and imperial. There's conversions for that, and I believe that's how I arrived at like, yeah, almost like 3 kilometers. Eli Autumn, thank you for the compliment, and thank you for tuning in. Um, City 17 has a ceiling in Hammer, Mosin because that is where the skybox is. Perfect. Okay, we need to get to work on this. So do that. And this. I think that did a majority of the work. It did. We'll have to do some edits here. This is the room that I added in last week, based on a beta section. Part of the beta required coming down the street here, and I added in this room. It actually still remains on the retail version of D3C1709, which is what became DM Overwatch in Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. Add in this wall. This. Yeah, I think that works fine, showing some of the decay. To retexture this. These need to go into the this. And throw that into the old stuff of his group. These floors here will need to also go there. True, yeah, that could work. Soda for lunch, splitting them up. Though, yeah, actually, the final train station with the train line heading out to the outskirts, I think, would need to be a separate thing because it's so long. And hello there. I had a feeling Autumn, that you were a cool full 860. Glad to see you again. It's been a while. I'm glad to see that your PC didn't crash. Fantastic Boom. Welcome back. Have to grab more stuff from the old map here that I didn't realize I would have to. Interesting that the view is a per map. Forgot about that. How are you doing, Mr. Coolful as well? It's been, like I said, some time. And hello there, HMR Dev. I am updating the residential block maps, as someone, one of the one of my advisors had recommended reworking the map a while back, and I also wanted to do some cool updates to the map that not only optimize it but add in some extra gameplay to them, as I wasn't really happy with the way that they ended up being finished. And so that is what I am doing currently. I'm working on a part of the map that's based on an area that was originally in the beta but was left in one of the retail maps, as there is a surprising amount of beta spots that were cut off in the retail maps but ended up becoming they're still in the retail maps. So that is what I am doing. And right now I'm just ensuring that this is similar enough to what I had done in the pre-war, as I had already done that map with those changes. Right now I am carving up a sidewalk so that way it doesn't clip inside a building. And carving that out. Alright, so that wall there, we can do is trim there. And trim here. And here. And okay, we need to do that and then do that. Perfect. Oh, this needs to come down slightly. Perfect. Perfect. Oh, actually, since we are looking at this during the Combine occupation, it might be best to throw in a couple of little Combine features. Why this needs to be just to really hammer it in and make sure you can really feel it everywhere. Yeah. We'll add in some graffiti. See which textures are on the map. Little trick here if you're packing nowadays using Vide. Sometimes it doesn't pick up decals anymore, and it's best to use overlays in order to make sure that those textures are grabbed. So what I like to do is if I've got a lot of info decals, I like to just put the texture into an overlay, which then registers the texture properly, and then it'll grab the texture. Uh, so essentially do that, and then whatever textures are also used by the decals, this texture will be grabbed by the Vide packing software. I'm not sure why Vide doesn't quite grab onto decals anymore, but that is an issue I have kind of run into several times now. And it also gives us the opportunity to decorate some of these new spaces. Oh, this one needs to be carved as well. And that works. I haven't. I don't know where an 8.4 kilometer calculation Fantastic Boom would come from for the Citadel. Um, Maybe it could be based on the model in Half-Life Alyx, as that might be a different scale when you compare the scaling with what's in um, like the scale that's provided through Half-Life 2. It might be a bit different. But I haven't heard of that one before. And I'm glad to hear you're doing well. The hope buying the new car works out. I am doing well myself. Just had to deal with, on occasion, a bit of a heat wave the last couple of weeks, but after getting my AC repaired, we're doing much better now. Glad to hear that as well, Combine collaborator. Hope you're enjoying. It sounds like you're enjoying your summer holidays. And yes, waffle time. The biggest hurdle for a lot of maps, especially these like combination ones, uh, that I do, where you've got a lot of spaces, um, the brush limit can be hit really quickly, and because brushes affect vivas and other sorts of forms of visibility, it can really start to complicate like the geometry and other things in the map like that. So by turning a lot of it into props, you reduce the brush count, which means you reduce a lot of the visibility, which then means the game can run a little bit better. Uh, because even if you turn a lot of the brush, um, smaller brush details like these door frames into stuff like brush entities or funk details, they can then run into a separate limit uh, called water indices. I don't know why it's called water indices. It has nothing to do with the water, but water indices has to do with like where uh, funk details meet solid brushwork, and if you get too many of those, the map won't compile. And then if your brush count's too high, then the map won't compile there either. And then if you manage to bring down the brush count to such a degree that it's optimized to be able to be compiled, then you have to deal with all the visibility stuff. Um, and a lot of those issues you still run into on gmod, despite gmod having a higher brush count, like certain higher limits for brushes and props and stuff like that. It's the wrong thing. Yes, we'll have to work on this area here. Let's get these stairs done first. Interesting. That's a different way than I would have expected Fantastic Boom to calculate the Citadel's height. The other issue is that even if you were to use New York scale, because that's what the skybox texture is based on, that those images have been even separate from like the stretching that happens. The textures are also edited, so things are positioned differently and aren't true to the scale of New York City itself. I'm sorry to hear that, Combine Collaborator. That's insane that it was 40 Celsius. Um, for those who use Imperial, 40 Celsius is pushing into like the 90s, closer to the hundreds. Um, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I'm glad that you managed to make it out on the other side. Well, that's cool. That you're able to get some neat combined flavored birch there, Combine Collaborator. These stairs. Perfect. And good. Good, good, good. Ah, just noticed this. Yeah. Might come back to some of these storefronts. Maybe the ones that can be entered in the pre-war and open a couple of those ones up too. But some of these ones, where I detailed the closed stores. Don't need to have those details anymore. All right, let's get rid of. Oh, accidentally clicked the wrong thing. Move this. Perfect. And then we'll make these adjustments here. That should help quite considerably with the brush count. And yeah, maybe allow us to do a couple extra things to really even it out. Ah, yes. And we'll have to... This is going to be an inelegant solution, but... sometimes even those can help. Perfect. All right. Now that we have all of these objects in, and we have the new areas that I made in. Actually, let's go back to that graffiti thing. Okay, so we have those. Add in a couple more into these sets of rooms. And then we'll add in some to that other space I created. That way. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, then we'll add more over in this little apartment entrance here that I had just to muck this up to also get these, make sure these textures are grabbed by Vide. No, that won't work on the wall there. We'll put it over here. Yeah, that works. And then we'll do 18 as well. And we can do a couple more here. Do 22 and 23. And then see where the other ones are and maybe work on that. Those ones. Yeah, perfect. Actually, we can also put some in here too. Yeah, the Breen's office and other parts of uh, the Citadel chapters are actually not raised up very high in comparison to that New York texture. I think because if you were to put all that stuff at the actual height of the model, you wouldn't be able to see um, the street very well because it'd be just so far down. That and because trying to work with 2004's hardware, I think also created some limits there. Some of there's a couple of shapes as well to the New York texture that's a little different too, from what I remember. But I would have to go back and look. It's been a while since I've talked about that image. Interesting that uh, they did some shrinking and the perceived distance is a little smaller. I didn't realize that. And that's true, Combine Collaborator. If you're doing that now, it was good to see you. If not, if you're doing that later, glad to have you still. But it's most important to keep your hardware safe, especially if you're not sure what will happen with your power. 3638. These textures. Something I've learned while looking at these textures is that there's a couple of them that seem to have, despite having the similar texture names, are actually different between Half Life and the Counter Strike titles, which is very interesting. I didn't realize that. And some of them seem to be like completely different designs too. I also find that graffiti is a very nice way to to decorate a space, especially in Combine occupied maps. It's a nice little visual boost. And I'm trying to apply a lot of these to areas where you might not see certain types of graffiti. Trying to keep it as equal to the original Half-Life 2 maps as I can. All right, 59. And we are looking at 62, and that's the last one. And then we'll work on the Combine screens, as those guys are needing to be updated, and a couple more need to be added. We'll just have to double check. Okay, that's... How many of these are there? I know it doesn't show up at the moment. That's something I need to fix. OBS. But there's a thing called entity report that I'm using. If you don't know about it, it can help locate different entities on the map. And you can search by either the type of entity or by certain details of the entity. So if you want to find a specific type of static prop, you can find them based on the model name. And right now I'm looking for the different types of entities, so I know how many of these Breen screens we're looking at here. So I know how much, what to replace where, and with what. Okay, so we've got about 4. These original hologram monitors are probably also going to have to be replaced, as those are a lot of brushes to make that hologram effect. And I worked on this in the train station maps I recently just edited. Yeah, that would be a lot to texture. 208 kilometers of flat terrain is huge. The skybox alone would be, it'd be far larger than this. It'd be like, even if it was 16 times the size, that would have to be like a huge chunk of the grid in Hammer. And I mean, the skybox for the Citadel levels is already quite large, which is crazy. Um, and glad to still have you then, Combine collaborator. But yes, that is a good idea to do when it happens. All right. So part of how I managed to fix the monitors was by actually changing the texture to something that's just a regular TV screen. It doesn't quite match the way it looks in Half-Life 2 normally, but um, it's gonna have to do in place of having uh, major amounts of brushes to get the hologram effect to work to really like highlight the get it to be solid, and I don't want to do that. As I've said, brush stuff, like amount of brushes can just drain away at your ability to map. Can destroy the can stop your compiling. So we are going to not do that still. Um, Perfect. Move that up. Do the same here. And move this here. Okay, and good. I'll have to rework this texture. Needs a lot of manual work, unfortunately, which is a bit annoying, but it's all right. We'll do another monitor here. To and this feels sort of like a natural spot for one. Well, it first needs to be actually attached to the building. But yeah. Okay, yeah, I like the look of that. Nice. We'll do this big guy again for the other one. Over here. That needs to be changed, but we'll do that in just a moment. Sometimes when doing other things, you spot other things that need to be changed. It is just the way it goes sometimes. And okay, move So we've got one there, got one up there, and one back there too, or one over here somewhere maybe. Oh, actually, yeah, maybe in that corner there. Perfect. Actually, yeah, right there, right above here. This feels like a good spot. Yeah, perfect. Okay, and we'll get some of the NPC noticers on that. Okay, yeah, and this needs to go into there. Perfect. Another little tip, if for those who are still learning Hammer or just want a little extra information, info hint, this one here, uh, basically can act as an extra thing to add into different maps for AIs. This version is uh, called World Visually Interesting, or you can set it to that. And basically, it's what makes the AI look at it. So you can essentially set it up in different landmarks for the AI to look at them. So they'll move their head or their eyes will sort of like casually look up at it. And I like to add them to the monitors. So that way if you spawn in an AI, they'll just naturally start looking towards it if they walk by. Perfect. All right. We got these monitors made good. Let's do these smaller ones as well. These guys here. Might take one of these bigger ones and just shrink it. Yeah, we'll do this one. We're going to copy this and then just shrink it down because we can do the same sort of, well, not the exact same monitor effect, but we can still have it be a monitor for Breen's speeches without needing all that brushwork. We'll just have to resize it and ensure that it's actually aligned with the grid. That and that. Perfect. Shrink it down to scale. And I'll have to play with the actual texture. So that texture will need a whole bunch of reworking and testing because it's very sensitive to the XY, like UV changes for some reason. That's true, Fantastic Boom. They very well could actually just increase the scale to better hit what they're that like over 200 kilometers, because that, yeah, that's a massive distance to try and fill for a skybox, even if you scale it. Okay. Little small things here. And there we go. That to this group. Might also have to do some extra combine monitors around the map, as I thought more of the ones that I saw in the entity report were actually elsewhere in the map, but it looks like they're all right here. Okay. Selection and okay, we'll have to rotate these a little bit. And I'll fix the textures later, as that will require, again, a lot of trial and error. How else do I want to? Oh, actually, yeah. Let's see what the other monitors are like. Okay, so those are, yeah, those are all those ones. Do sort of want a couple extra combine vibes here and there. We'll put one of the monitors. Yeah, maybe back here. Pull it from transit block. We'll put down a couple extra combine monitors, and then I think that should be good for that. There's going to be a couple extra things I'll need to add here and there on the map, but that is the main thing for this. Make sure this is aligned to the sidewalk. Okay, now it is. And we can do another one up over here to really make sure Breen is everywhere. Since there's a screen there, and there's another one down there, kind of want to add another one somewhere else on this side to really sure where though. Well, why don't we do one right here? Oh, I actually kind of like that angle. Do that there. And then maybe why not one more over here. Kind of want to do that angle again. We'll do that angle. Okay. Perfect. We'll have to increase that from the sidewalk. There we go. I've thought about making the screens monitors, but I'm not, or the monitors, models, but I don't know how it would work with texturing and scripts because, um, certain, like the monitors need, uh, to be able to connect to a specific camera, and I don't think you can do that on certain models, which is unfortunate because I'd love to have the hologram effect, that are used throughout the maps because they look so cool, and it's more accurate to the game. So unfortunately, I don't think that's the case. But I think this works well enough. For now, at the very least. We've got Breen on far more corners of the map. He'll be able to be seen better, doing his speeches. So yeah. I think then that might be it for now, as I think that I'll have to do more testing for a lot of the monitors and everything to make sure that they work properly. Still need to get the AI nodes in, but I'm going to do that. I might do that off stream since it's not always the most fun thing to do. Um, but yeah, I think that might be where we call today's bit of work on the map. It was lovely to see you all. I hope the heat is not as bad this week for everyone. It's still not the greatest here. But I hope everyone takes care of themselves and does well. It was lovely to see you all. Wouldn't be able to do this without you. And I shall catch you guys next time. Hope everyone does well until then. Take care and good night.